she comes running off the bus, excited to see everybody now, fully alert and still full of energy. Words couldn't express how relieved I am.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anna Manuel, the host of Transform Table Talk Live alongside Dr. Maggie Yu. Today, we have an exciting interview with Doris, who actually joined the Transform program for her 6-year-old daughter, Briley. This is unique because Doris wanted to do this interview specifically to let other parents know there's another option out there. If you have a child who is struggling with something, you don't just have to go the conventional route. You can utilize both the conventional medicine and other options to learn what is going on and get to the root of your child's issues. Specifically for Briley, she was dealing with intense joint pain and swelling and crushing fatigue. Fatigue so bad that she would come home from school and crash and nobody could wake her back up. She was diagnosed with juvenile idiopathic arthritis, and things were getting so bad that she was almost going to have to start on immune suppressant medications. Her mom was beside herself and was heartbroken and really was at a breaking point, but it became a turning point when she met Dr. Maggie and the Transform program. And I just can't wait for you to see how Briley and Doris and the whole family, by the way, she has 4 children, how they're all doing now. Hi, Doris. Won't you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Doris. I have 4 kids, lots of animals out here in the country in Kansas. And I joined the program for my 6-year-old daughter.
So your daughter's name is Briley, and she couldn't be any more adorable. Everybody has really enjoyed within the program, I know, watching her tremendous progress. But you said you're a mother of 4. Tell me, how do you manage that?
Well, we had 3 girls, and I was not giving up till I got my boy, which we did. So the last 3 were actually back to back. And so it kind of just flowed because we were in the baby phase and we were just going to hunker down and stay in the baby phase until we knock them out. And they're all basically close in age so that it works out. They all kind of just are interested in similar things, and it's made it doable.
But family life sounds like it probably got a lot more difficult when Briley started not feeling well. Tell me how that all played out. Because she's only 6 years old, is that right?
Yeah, it started when she was 4. I took her in for a swollen ankle. At the time, we didn't notice her knee was also swollen because she already had kind of chubby knees at that age.
So you went to the doctor and said, okay, maybe she twisted it or something happened, but what did you find out?
Well, she actually had an injury. It took about 9 months to finally get the MRI, and by then it didn't show like any strain or anything. So I was actually in denial when they diagnosed her with the juvenile idiopathic arthritis. Thought it just wasn't healing because it wasn't being treated because we didn't know what was wrong with it or what happened. But then this year, her knee and her ankle swelled back up, and there was no obvious cause. So then it was like, oh no, it probably must be immune related then. So we had steroid injections, and I did what I did the first go around with like the natural treatments, which had worked the first time that she'd had the flare up. But this time she had started kindergarten and just had virus after virus after virus, and her body just wasn't healing. And so her rheumatologist was wanting to go on immune suppressants. So that's when I went on my frantic search for a functional approach so that we didn't have to do that.
Hi, I'm Maggie UMD, and I'm a functional and holistic medicine physician and the creator of the Transform and Transform protocol. If you're interested in learning what are the root causes of all chronic disease, go ahead and click the link in the description where I have a power-packed 30-minute training that goes over what are the 5 pillars of Transform. Go ahead, click the link, and I'll see you in that training.
Okay, take me back to when it first started creating a problem, though. I want to know, what was it like and how bad did it get? Was she in a lot of pain with her ankle and her knee?
Yes. There were some times that she could barely walk on it. A few times we had to carry her, like just to get in the bath because it was so stiff, her leg, and didn't want to put weight on it.
Doris, as a mom, I have a little boy who's 4 years old. So right about the same age that your daughter was when this all started to unfold. And, it hurts my heart every time he gets a little cut or something. I can only imagine how painful that must have been for you to see your little girl in pain with these swollen joints, not exactly knowing what was going on or what her future was going to hold at that time. I would have been incredibly worried and tormented inside. What were you feeling?
All of the above, especially just not knowing what the immune suppressants could end up causing down the road or all the side effects. And also not knowing if taking the road less traveled was a good idea. Going against conventional doctors' advice was really scary. So, as parents, we second guess everything anyways, and whether we made the right choice. So it was a really tough decision trying to take a functional approach.
What was your conventional doctor telling you? Was he or she saying, this is what you have to do to ensure your daughter's future is going to be a bright one? She's got to get on these medications and you have to do it right now?
Yes, it is the only option that they had, aside from the steroids. But because those had worn off and they weren't effective, then we were looking at immune suppressants at that point.
And it sounds like on a scale of 1 to 10, you would rate her pain level pretty high. What kind of a number would you put at that?
Pain was honestly kind of off and on.
At its worst, though, when you're saying she can't walk, it sounds pretty bad.
Yes, at the worst, it was probably a 9.
That had to be heartbreaking. What was she saying? How was she holding up through all of this?
Kids are actually more resilient than I gave them credit for. I mean, her knee and ankle were so ballooned out that I wanted to cry because I, projected my own experiences of that must be so painful. But she was actually really tough. But it was just her inability to really get around. Mm-hmm. And that's what scared me too, was I worried that the longer it took to get the inflammation under control and get her walking normally again, I was worried about the implications of her alignment, and we've had to do chiropractic to keep everything else to kind of compensates, and just those indirect problems that come with it more than just the swelling.
So I'm curious, you mentioned that she had just started kindergarten when all of this was unfolding, and she was getting sick. Virus after virus after virus.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was literally nonstop. It was just back to back to back. We weren't even over the respiratory virus before the vomiting would kick in and the stomach virus. And it was just no breaks in between. So
you had to make a heartbreaking decision then about school.
Yeah. We ended up having to pull her out in November because I was hoping maybe if we could give her body a break. But even after a couple months, it still wasn't making a difference in her knee and ankle.
What did she think about not being able to go to school anymore with her friends?
She was obsessed with school. I mean, and she's thankfully a really bright student. So academically, she didn't fall behind, but it was a daily question. And I don't know how to explain her condition to a kid in kindergarten and to try to explain why, her body's doing what it's doing. I mean, I still have a hard time trying to explain to a 6-year-old what's going on with her. It was really tough.
I can imagine. So how did you come across Dr. Maggie in the Transform program?
I was on a hunt for a functional doctor. So I started in Kansas, but I was also in a lot of autoimmune related groups on Facebook. So Dr. Maggie had popped up. And when I had looked into her programs, she provided the education that I had been trying to provide for myself for the last 2 years. And that's really difficult, not having access to the latest research. It was very limited. And I obviously didn't want to just be a Google scholar. So
you actually have a background in research from going to college?
Yes. I worked in
Tell me more about that.
Well, I actually had 6 different areas of concentration that I graduated in, but I worked in the research at the university. That was kind of my specialty. I've always just been an obsessive researcher.
Well, maybe it came in handy now, finally, right? We're going to get to the bottom of this for Briley, and we're going to get her better. And that's how you found Dr. Maggie.
Yes, she had a lot more years under her belt than I had with the autoimmune research and understanding with all of that. Even after just 2 years of really digging deep into autoimmunity, when I heard her speak, I could already tell she knew what she was talking about. And so I really trusted her competence. And I also really wanted the education. Like it was beyond just finding a functional doctor for Briley. I was going to be educated because after Briley diagnosis became a reality, I also started to dig deeper into the rest of the family since I knew it was genetic. So I tested my own ANA and that came back positive, and I started to put pieces of the puzzle together. Even her father's side, had autoimmune related health problems.
Do you struggle with symptoms yourself?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And so that's why I really dug into Dr. Maggie's program, because I wanted the education, not only for Briley, but I was like, that would help address the rest of the family.
And Doris, do you understand that just you making these connections and you realizing that, okay, if one of my children has this issue, I need to be looking at the rest of the family is like light years beyond so many others. Talk to me though, did you have reservations before joining? And if so, what were they?
It was the cost, but I had already been to so many different specialists for every single one of us that I felt like this was the catch-all. And so it was worth the money. And it was, because went into things that I hadn't even thought to dig deep into anyways. So
like
what I didn't realize before starting the program was that's impossible to just address an infection and then it be done, they'll just keep coming back if we don't address all the 5 pillars that we learned about in the program. So I was shocked that every single test that we did for Briley ended up uncovering more and more and more that we would have had no idea to test for or look at previously. There was just no warning signs. So
you were mentioning she was exhausted. Tell me about what was the fatigue like before?
Before, when she would get home from school, actually, she would zonk out really hard on the bus. She rode the bus home. Her bus driver, myself, her father, her kids, we even got a puppy and would try to get the puppy to lick her and wake her up and get her all perked up and to get her to wake up and get off the bus. But no one could really hardly get her to wake up. And so I honestly thought it was because she had just started kindergarten. So she was adjusting to the new routine and was just tired, wiped out, all this new change. But now that I know that after months and months of her not adjusting, I know it can take only about 2 weeks to adjust to even a new sleep routine. So months in, she was still doing this. I didn't realize until we had done the hormone testing and discovered her adrenal fatigue. That explained a lot. And then a lot of her deficiencies that we discovered in her blood work explain why she was so fatigued. So that was eye-opening.
The fatigue was so intense that after school, she would fall asleep so hard that she couldn't be woken up. I mean, she was that exhausted.
Yeah, we thought she was faking it. that no way was this kid sleeping that hard. Did she play that hard today? But yeah, it was very eye-opening to be able to find out what was really causing that.
You're about 10 weeks out of the program. How is her fatigue now?
She comes running off the bus, excited to see everybody now, fully alert and still full of energy. So
what does that feel like for you as a mom to see your daughter have this dramatic transformation from being zombie-like and can't be woken up to bouncing around like Briley used to be?
Words couldn't express how relieved I am, honestly.
And
I'm trying not to cry here.
Well, I understand, because to see such a shift in your daughter, to go from her not really able to participate in life, and now we didn't even mention it, but you mentioned she's back riding the bus home from school, which implies she's back in school.
Yes, she's back in dance. She was the star of the show last night. Once again, full of energy. I just stole the show. And we're back at church again, and they are obsessed. Every week they beg to go to church. And so that is so awesome.
And that's a great feeling, just to be living life. So how is her pain doing?
Pretty good. She's only got a little bit of swelling in her ankle, and I know that it takes time. So we'll be starting physical therapy. That was something we knew we needed to do anyways before starting the program, was re-strengthening that leg, getting that range of motion back. But she has not complained of pain.
Wow. So if you would say at her worst before, you said she was at about a level 9 pain, where would you rate it now?
Maybe a 1, because there have been some motions that have triggered some here and there, but typically really well.
Who wouldn't want a level 1 pain after dealing with a level 9?
Right.
These things don't just magically happen. What made the difference for Briley?
For one, the blood work. it uncovered a lot of vitamin and mineral deficiencies, her thyroid issues. All of her thyroid numbers came back high. We're actually waiting to get more testing done on that, hoping that it's not Graves. It was so high.
And
so now,
no doctor, your rheumatologist never uncovered any of this previously.
Oh, no.
Didn't even think to test her for vitamins deficiencies or her thyroid.
Actually, the ferritin was tested and it was insanely low. And every time I brought it up, they kept saying, oh, that's normal.
Wow. And knowing what you know now, how do you feel about basically being blown off in that way?
It's enraging. That's why, even though as nervous as I was today, I just really wanted to get the word out to every parent that is seeking conventional medicine for their children, because I'm glad we found Dr. Maggie when we did, before it led to any more damage, because that's outrageous that I guess nobody even thought to address it or check most of the things that Dr. Maggie checked.
Well, kudos to you, Mom, because you didn't give up and you knew it was a problem and you knew you had to find somebody who was going to address it. And that is exactly what you're doing. And look at the change in her. What else did you find out? I know earlier you mentioned something about hormones.
Yes, I didn't even know that a 6-year-old could have hormone issues, but she was in stage 2 adrenal fatigue, and the food mapping discovered a lot too. She has leaky gut and a number of food sensitivities that we had no idea.
Like what? What was she sensitive to?
Oh, there's a long list.
What was something that she was eating all the time that you guys were surprised to know she actually had a sensitivity to?
Dairy. And I actually had started to cut out dairy before the program because I had read about that being a common trigger. And so we switched to almond milk. Turns out almonds are just as high as dairy.
And don't feel bad, because that is such a common mistake.
Yes, it definitely explained why the anti-inflammatory diet was not effective this time, because it actually
was having almonds and she was having sensitivities to almonds as well. So once you removed those sensitivities, did you see things turn around pretty quickly?
The energy, yeah. I had no idea there was a war going on inside her body. And so her norm is a completely new norm now. Her behavior is much better too. I mean, even though she never complained of stomach pain or any other symptoms, she had, just her irritability is gone, and her behavior is just much more positive and happy, just like a whole different uplifted spirit. And I don't think she knew that really there was anything outside the norm going on with her either, because that was just her baseline.
It's like you almost didn't realize, oh, I didn't know I could feel this good.
Yeah.
I didn't know I could be this happy.
Yeah. I didn't know that wasn't normal.
Right. I'm curious, how did Briley respond to having to make some changes in the program and learning some things about herself in this program?
I was 100% shocked at her resiliency and acceptance and participation. I tried my best to try to make each thing fun and positive, and try to explain things in a way that's like, well, it's not like these aren't things you can't have. We're just only eating the good food. I tried, like the water challenge, I would reward, for that. So then it was just real exciting to go get her heart if she finished one of her water bottles, and we got the whole family involved, and we're competing who's going to get the most hearts fastest, and then who's going to get the prize. So
you made it a fun family affair.
Yeah. We've just really experimented and tried to make the most out of it by just making it fun and finding new recipes. Like we just take either we take what we normally would eat and we'd modify it, or we would just kind of try to act excited to try all this new stuff that maybe you don't normally get excited about. But thankfully, my husband really got involved. He started smoking a lot of like seafood and stuff. So Briley's obsessed with that. So that's been great so far. I'm obsessed with that. That's
positive life changes all around. So what would you say to another parent who might be watching this and thinking, there's no help out there for my child. I've tried everything. My doctors aren't listening. I don't know about this Transform program. What would you say to a parent who is struggling with a chronic illness like you were?
For one, I think it's the best time to do it. I know it's scary, but making all of these like diet changes and lifestyle changes that greatly impact their health, it's easier to do at this age because they already eat what you provide for them. So you're actually setting them up for their entire life of success. Because if they're used to eating this way and avoiding food intolerances and things like that and toxins, then that's just kind of their natural go-to, and they don't feel deprived. And the other part was avoiding any permanent damage, or whether it's from the disease itself progressing or if it's from the immune suppressants. Because eventually, even if they were working for the symptoms, I already knew that it was going to be a while before we'd have to change things up anyways when her body becomes resistant to that medication, and you have to go down the road of trying to find another one that works, and then dealing with all the side effects and any potential damage that those cause. And when I said outrageous that our other doctors have not addressed any of Briley's underlying issues that Dr. Maggie has, I wanted to clear up that I know that it's just because they don't know.
Yeah, they just don't know. They haven't been taught this. So it's not like they're being malicious in the fact that they're ignoring things. They're not taught this in school. It's not a focus for them.
That's the outrageous part. Yes.
Right. Yeah. So again, getting back to talking to other parents out there, they might be thinking, well, how do you find the time for this? You have 4 children and a very busy life, I'm sure. How do you find the time?
Well, because Briley's health had to take priority. I did end up having to hire some help with the other kids so that I could devote to this. But like I said, I just didn't think there was any better time than now, on top of the fact that I didn't want to chance taking any longer and ending up with any permanent damage if we didn't get everything under control.
And you mentioned before that, cost was a little bit of, it gave you pause, and you had to hire additional childcare help. So this was all in, and even maybe a little bit bigger of a financial commitment for you than for some other people. Where do you place that level of value now?
I thought of it as a lifelong investment, because I know this is something Briley's going to deal with the rest of her life. And when you had that reality slap us in the face, when we had it confirmed that it's autoimmune. So honestly, that is priceless. I mean, imagine how much money not only we save, but she saves in a lifetime of trying to get answers and trying to battle something that we didn't understand or have any, underlying knowledge of what was going on in her body that we couldn't get answers to anywhere else. It was like, why waste time or money from here on out? Let's just get the good doctor and get it over with now.
Exactly. Well, you mentioned getting a good doctor. What was it like? What did you think about working with Dr. Maggie?
Oh, man. Her confidence and competence is honestly the only thing that kept me grounded, because I was so overwhelmed, and I honestly felt like fainting multiple times. My anxiety was so high. Wow. But it's like, as soon as she started talking, it's like, I knew she knew what she was talking about. It was like an instant, like, okay, I can calm down. She's got us taken care of. And, she was my rock. And I know it wasn't just a show, because like I said, I'd already done some research into her anyways, and was like, this woman knows what she's talking about. Like, she's a unicorn. Like,
it's true.
She truly does. Like, it's not just her confidence, but like I said, her confidence gave me confidence, but it was her confidence in knowing exactly, like, okay, this is not new to her, like it is to me. And I mean, her results don't lie anyway. Look at everybody that's had success in this program. It's not just opinionated. It's just fact.
It's a fact, period. And it's a fact. So you mentioned that you struggled with anxiety and things like that. And I know you were going through this program for Briley, but I'm curious, the mindset work in this program, did that have an impact on you?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was everything I had no idea I needed. One of my degrees is in psychology, but you don't learn any of that in school. And
wow, isn't that?
I feel like Dr. Maggie needs to go speak with every psychology class and teach her mindset work, because it's more impactful than the many years that I spent studying psychology.
I mean, not even an exaggeration though, right?
No.
Because you studied this, you have a degree in this, and yet you were struggling with it and not knowing how to apply any of the skills that you had learned in a school setting. So what was so different about the mindset work in this program then?
For one, she tied in like the blood sugar role.
Mm-hmm.
That really impacted like the anxiety levels I was having. For two, the mindset work that, like I said, I didn't learn not only in school, but I also worked at the, mental health center for many years, in the field. And it's hard to say in this short amount of time what in particular it was, because it honestly all tied together seamlessly to completely
some of the
change,
exercises,
reframe my thoughts with
Okay.
every situation.
So how is she doing with being back at school and getting sick all the time?
The virus and the virus strike has been like our answer to that major conundrum that we were facing for months. Because like I said, there's the nonstop viruses. It was just making it really hard to get that war inside of her body to calm down.
How often is she getting sick?
She did end up getting sick going back, but it was not nearly as bad as we normally would have. And then the two younger ones got sick and Briley never got sick.
Whoa. And that would be unheard of.
Yeah.
I would love for you to summarize, what all of this has done for your entire family, not just Briley.
Complete life changer, because everybody was stir crazy. I knew we couldn't isolate forever. Missing church, that's kind of how we set the tone for our whole week. So that was major, being able to get back to church for everybody. And just making all the same lifestyle changes for everybody else that we were doing for Briley. My husband's feeling better. I'm feeling better. My teenager's feeling better, like all of us.
And you mentioned you have a positive ANA, autoimmune stuff going on. Did you learn anything about yourself specifically?
Yeah, I actually had during the coaching calls, just hearing other people, I had it explained many years of symptoms that I had no idea was autoimmune related. And I mean, it started I had the pox-like symptoms in 5th grade leading up to gestational diabetes. And then I knew I had major hormone issues because I had the last 3 pregnancies back to back. Mm-hmm. And there was, breastfeeding in between, no breaks for my body to recover. And so my hormones just flatlined. And, it's been very eye-opening. No doctor. It was very terrifying. I'd faint all the time when I was pregnant and no other doctor could explain. I wish I had found this program years ago, but I could never imagine investing this kind of thing into myself. So just been another perk, because we'll do it for our kids.
Right. But now that you think about that, what would you say to somebody who is feeling that same way? Like, oh, I could never make that investment for myself. Sure, maybe I would do it for my child, but I couldn't do that for myself.
See, that's what the mindset portion has really done for me is, I think I tend to see that a lot of women are the same mindset where it's like, we'll do whatever we got to do for our kids and we just put ourselves last. And it has been eye-opening to see that, when I feel my best, I'm a completely different mom and wife. I'm way better of a mom. And so it's not an investment just in yourself, but it's an investment for your family, because when you have the energy and you're not run down, you can do a lot more for them. And it's life-changing.
Doris, thank you so much for sharing your story. And we're just so happy that Briley is back to being a kid and doing the things that she loves to do, like any mom would want their child to be having that life, that childhood, that true childhood where she's not isolated in her house in pain, but she's out there with her friends and she's dancing. We're so happy for you.
Thank you.
As a parent, I know there's no greater joy being a parent myself than seeing your child thriving and being happy, right? That's what we all want. We want our children to be healthy and happy. And I'm just so thrilled for Doris and Briley and the whole family that all of them now are getting back to enjoying the things that they love to do because they're feeling so much better collectively as a family, but especially Briley is. She really wanted me to stress, Doris did, that she did this interview so she could reach other parents and that she could let them know, hey, if you are struggling with something, a chronic illness of any kind for your child, there are options and you can get to the root of what's going on and you can make big changes in their life.
Hi, and thank you for watching this video. If you're interested in actively looking for a solution to your problem and you'd like to work with us, I'm going to invite you to go ahead and click the link in the description to book a chat with our team. What that's going to do is it's going to bring you to a calendar, pick a time that's going to suit your needs best. It's going to be about a 15-minute phone call. After you book that call, there's going to be a link to a short questionnaire, and that's really important for you to fill out because it's for us to get to know you better and helps us to better prepare to make the most of our time together. After you fill out the short application, it's going to take you to a page where there's a couple resources. What I want you to do is go ahead and click 2 of those and watch those 2 trainings. They're going to really best prepare you for your phone call with us to make the best use of our time together. I and my team look forward to talking to you to learn more about you, to see if we are indeed a good fit to work together. Thank you.